Have you ever wondered what the world would look like today if history had taken a different turn? Forget Columbus! Forget Magellan! Picture this. Long ships, not caravels, cresting the waves of every ocean. What if the Vikings, the masters of the North Atlantic, had kept going and charted the entire world? Let's set the scene. It's around the year 1008. Leif Erikson has just landed in what we call Newfoundland, a place he names In our timeline, this settlement was short-lived. But in this alternate reality, it thrives. The Vikings don't just stay. They use Vinland as a permanent base, a stepping stone to the vast, unknown continent. Why did they fail in our history? A combination of hostile natives, limited resources, and a lack of support from back home. But what if those factors changed? What if a series of milder winters in Greenland allowed for more ships, more warriors, and more settlers to make the journey? With a secure foothold in North America, the Norsemen do what they do best: explore, trade, and raid. Their longships, with their shallow drafts, are perfect for navigating the great rivers of America: the St. Lawrence, the Mississippi. They would encounter diverse Native American civilizations. From the mound-building cultures of the Mississippian peoples to the city-states of the Mayans and Aztecs further south, the initial contact would likely be violent, as it was in our timeline. But the Vikings were also pragmatic traders. Imagine Norse axes and iron tools being traded for maize, gold, and obsidian. This exchange wouldn't be one-sided. The Vikings would bring not only iron but also diseases like smallpox, devastating local populations centuries before Columbus. However, unlike the later European conquest, the Norse lacked the numbers and centralized power to fully subjugate these empires. Instead, a complex web of trade, conflict, and cultural fusion would emerge. We might see Viking longhouses standing beside earthen mounds and sagas telling tales of battles against jaguar warriors. From their American base, the Viking spirit of exploration wouldn't just stop. Following the Pacific coastline south, they'd round the tip of South America, a feat far more challenging than navigating the North Atlantic. Their incredible seamanship would be tested like never before. After conquering the treacherous waters of Cape Horn, they would enter the largest ocean on Earth, the Pacific. This is where their journey transforms from regional exploration to a truly global odyssey. Guided by the stars and coastal currents, they would island hop across Polynesia, encountering seafaring cultures as skilled as their own. The meeting of the Viking longship and the Polynesian outrigger canoe would be a legendary moment in maritime history. Imagine the cultural exchange. The Vikings would be stunned by the vastness of the Pacific and the Polynesians' navigational genius, while the Polynesians would be introduced to iron and new myths. This journey would eventually lead them to the shores of Australia and New Zealand, lands of strange creatures and new peoples. But the Vikings aren't just sailing west. Others, sailing from Scandinavia, would push further south along the African coast. For centuries, European sailors were terrified of the Sea of Darkness beyond Cape Bud. The Vikings, bred in mist and ice, might have viewed it as just another challenge. They would round Africa, opening a sea route to the riches of the Indian Ocean's spices, silks, and jewels. They would encounter the powerful Swahili city-states and the sprawling trade networks of the Arab world. Picture a Viking dragonhead prow pulling into the port of Zanzibar or Calicut, a sight that would reshape global trade forever. The Silk Road would suddenly have a major maritime competitor controlled not by Italian merchants, but by Norse yachts, with their fleets now spanning the globe, from the Americas to India. The Vikings would eventually connect the two fronts of their exploration. A Norse ship sailing west from Vinland could meet another sailing east from Scandinavia, somewhere in the Indian Ocean. They would have done it. They would have circumnavigated the globe and charted the world. The Mappa Mundi of the 13th century wouldn't be a Jerusalem-centric disc, but a remarkably accurate, sprawling map of the continents, etched onto walrus ivory or sewn into a tapestry. So, what would this Viking-charted world look like? First, the concept of a new world would never exist. The Americas, Europe, Africa, and Asia would have been interconnected centuries earlier. This would lead to a dramatically different genetic and cultural landscape. You might find people in Mexico with blonde hair and blue eyes, not as conquerors, but as part of a blended heritage. The Norse language, Old Norse could have become a global lingua franca for trade, influencing languages from Algonquin to Swahili. Technologically, the world would have accelerated. The Vikings, as master shipbuilders and metallurgists, would spread their knowledge. But they would also learn, bringing back technologies and ideas from every culture they met. Perhaps the concept of zero from India, papermaking from China, or advanced agricultural techniques from the Americas would arrive in Europe centuries ahead of schedule, kickstarting a much earlier Renaissance, but one with a distinctly Norse flavor. The age of knights in shining armor might be replaced by an age of well-traveled berserkers wielding weapons influenced by global designs. Politically, Europe would be transformed. The Norse kingdoms of Denmark, Norway, and Sweden would become the epicenters of a global trading empire, rivaling the power of the Holy Roman Empire and the papacy. The Catholic Church's influence would be diminished in a world where Odin and Thor were worshipped alongside local deities across the seas. The Protestant Reformation might happen earlier or not at all, replaced by a religious landscape far more diverse in this Viking-led globalization would have created a world that is both more connected and perhaps more conflicted. The early exchange of diseases, technologies, and ideas would have reshaped every continent. Empires would have risen and fallen differently. The world we know, our languages, our borders, our very identities, the product of a specific sequence of events. Change, one key factor, like the fate of a small Norse settlement in and the entire tapestry of human history unravels and is rewoven into something new, something wild, something Viking. What do you think? Would a Viking-charted world be a better or worse place? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed this journey into alternate history, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more what-if scenarios. See you next time!